Hi guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about the next 5 books that I have recently read, and it was kind of a rocky start. I had 2 books that I did not finish, and then I ended on a good note with 3 books that were actually 5 stars. So I want to go ahead and talk about the 2 books that I did not finish. So let's get started. So the first book that I didn't finish is Riot Baby by Tochi Onyebuchi, and I am so sorry if I mispronounced that because I'm sure I just butchered that. But this was a book that I actually tried to read last year and I just could not push through it. For some reason, I was not connecting with the story, so I thought maybe I just wasn't in the mood. So obviously, I picked it up again and I still was just not connecting with the story. The first time I read it, I want to say I got about halfway through it. It's a short book. It's less than 200 pages. I want to say it's right under 200 pages. And I got about halfway through. And then this time I tried to pick it up. I only got about 30 pages through. And for whatever reason, I just was not connecting with the story. So the premise of this book, based off of how far I was able to get both times, it is about this girl by the name of Ella who has this power that she refers to as the thing that helps her see into the future. So for instance, she would be able to know when somebody's going to die and how they're going to die and what age, that sort of thing. And we find out that her younger brother also has this type of power. I know I didn't finish the book, but their powers were never explained. I know that the younger brother Kev ended up going to jail, but I have no idea what the significance was to her with her going to jail. I just don't know what this book was trying to do. And I also feel like this author was trying to throw a lot of social commentary at us without any explanation. So, for instance, in the very beginning of the book, we know that her younger brother Kev was born the same day that the riots happened because of Rodney King out in LA. Yeah, that's all we got. It was never referred to again. I don't know if that's why that's the title, Riot Baby. I'm not sure. It was never explained. There was also a lot of other commentary that I just felt like was just being thrown at us without any explanation. Now, like I said, this is a book I did not finish. Maybe it explained it at the end. So if anybody actually got through this book and understood what the author was trying to say, please let me know. But I'm just not going to pick this up anymore and try. So the next book that I did not finish, and I'm actually so sad that I was not able to finish it because I was so excited for this book, that is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. So many people have been raving about this book, about how much they love it, how much they love the characters, the magics, how they are just can't wait for the sequel. And I only made it about 140 pages before I had to put it down because I just also could not connect with this story for some reason. So this is about our main character by the name of Bree, who is trying to get over the tragic death of her mom, who died in a car accident. And Bree and her best friend Alice have been accepted into this early college program that's pretty prestigious in their area, and it allows them to experience have the college experience earlier than they would have. So they're able to live in the dorms, they can move, they can go on the college campus, they take college courses. And during their first weekend there, they decide that they're going to go to this party. And while they're at the party, Bree actually notices a boy that is being attacked by what we later find out is a demon. So because she is all wrapped up in that situation, she comes to find out that there's this group at the school that actually fights these demons that have been let into our world. And she wants to join this group because she thinks that this group has something to do with her mother's death. Sounds good, but I just couldn't get into it. I think a big part of why I wasn't able to enjoy the story was because I just could not understand the magic system, and how we got that information was just really off-putting to me. So this is supposed to be based off of the Legend of King Arthur, which I know absolutely nothing about, and maybe I should have looked it up before I started reading this book. I did not. but the magic system was so confusing. And right before I decided to just put the book down, we were getting thrown so much information and we were getting thrown so many terms that I just could not keep up. They were throwing out Legendborn and Shadowborn and Page and Mage and Scion and Aether and all these words, and some of them they weren't even explaining. Some of them you kind of had to use like your context clues to figure out what the heck they were talking about. And that just kept pulling me out of the story. I tried to tab it, and you probably can't tell, but I tried to use tabs every time they threw something new out there so that I could refer back, but that wasn't helping. And then I tried to take my own notes, but it was just annoying when I was reading sentences and I had to stop in the middle of the sentence to refer back to my notes to try to figure out what this one word meant. It was too much. It was too much, and I'm so sad because I was really, really, really excited for this. At this moment, I don't plan on picking it back up. But if people happen to say that the sequel is just freaking amazing, maybe I can come back to this. But as of right now, I just couldn't get into it. So the next books that I wanted to talk about are my 5-star reads, which I'm really excited to get into. And 2 of them are by the same author, so I'll go ahead and start with those first. The first one is On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. And if for some reason you don't know, this is the author who wrote The Hate U Give a couple of years ago, and there was a movie out. This was the second book that she wrote. And I actually bought this when it first came out. And I don't want to say that I wasn't interested in it. It just wasn't something that I was in a hurry to pick up. But I finally did. And I want to say that I was missing out because this was freaking amazing. I actually listened to this on audiobook, which is surprising because I am not an audiobook person. I have the attention span of a 2-year-old and I get sidetracked and start thinking about stuff really quickly. But the person that narrated this did a freaking amazing job. It was one of those things where I just wanted to listen to it all the time. I was, in the car listening to it, at home listening to it, in the bed just playing a game on my phone listening to it. It was great. So before I keep raving about how good this book was, this is a story about our main character, Bree, who is an aspiring rapper like her father was before he was murdered right before her birth. So we are following Bree as she is trying to navigate the rap scene. So, she's writing her own music. She is doing underground rap battles, and one of them she actually won. And she is getting the help of her Aunt Pooh, who is my favorite character in this book. And while we're navigating her rap career, or budding rap career, I should say, there was an incident that took place at her school that kind of caused a lot of ruckus. I don't want to say what it was because I don't want to spoil anything, but because of that incident that took place at her school, she wrote a rap song called On the Come Up. And that's kind of where the story takes place. So, Bree is a really good rapper. She's trying to live up to her dad, and she's also trying to make sure that her rap career takes off because she wants to take care of her family. So the thing that she doesn't realize is people of color, we really have to be conscious of the things that we say, how we dress, how we present ourselves, because how we do those things will determine how people actually see us. And in her rap, she was saying certain things like that reference gangs and reference violence, and I think one of the things she said had the reference to like a gun or something. And even though she tried to explain those things away and was like, hey, I said this, but I really meant this, that doesn't matter. People are going to interpret things how they want to, and you have to be so conscious of that. And that was one of the big things in this book. Even though she meant well, she had a fallout from her rap, and she had a lot of basically cleaning up to do in regards to that. One of the other things that this book talked about, or what I got out of it, was how doing the right thing sometimes doesn't feel like the right thing. So, like I said, she's trying to take care of her family, and she's living at home with her mom, who actually just got custody of Bree and her brother Trey, because when her father died, her mother ended up being addicted to drugs. She did end up getting herself cleaned up, but she's struggling. She's struggling to pay the bills. She's struggling to provide them food and lights and heat and, clothes for Bree. And so her brother has to chip in. And her brother, was on the straight and narrow. He did great in high school. He went to college. He has this degree in psychology. Yet he's living at home trying to help them out as a pizza delivery boy. And Bree is seeing this, and in this story, we're back in Garden Heights where the Hate U Give took place, and you're seeing your brother, who should be the successful person and making all this money and being able to move out of the hood, and can't. But then you see all these drug dealers who are doing 10 times better than you guys by doing the wrong thing. They're out here selling drugs, yet they are walking around with way more money than you guys are, and you guys did the right thing. So she is in that middle where she's like, why should I focus on school? It didn't get my brother anywhere. When my aunt Pooh, who sells drugs, she's over here being able to buy us groceries. So, it's that brings a good conversation, because people should always continue to do the right thing, because it pays off in the end, even though it doesn't seem like it. It does. I freaking loved this book, and I would definitely recommend the audiobook. The person that read the audiobook was amazing. And there were a couple of scenes, I think I mentioned in the beginning, where she went to like a rap battle, and the person that narrated the audiobook actually kind of like performed the raps, and she performed the main rap. It was good. It was really entertaining. And like I said, I gave this 5 stars. I would highly recommend. If you're hesitant like I was, pick this up. And if you don't want to pick it up physically, listen to the audiobook. So the other book that I have by Angie Thomas that I didn't think that I was going to like was Concrete Rose. And this recently came out this year. And I will say, I didn't know if I was going to be interested in this. So this actually takes place before the Hate U Give. And this follows Star's father, Maverick. So we are following Maverick when he is 17 years old, and he just found out that the girl that he messed around with after he broke up with his girlfriend, Lisa, for like a couple of weeks, is pregnant, and that is his baby, and he has been left with the baby because that girl is just trifling and left him with the baby. And so we are essentially just following him raising his son, and we are kind of he's dealing with the same thing that I feel like Bree did in On the Come Up, where he's trying to sell drugs because that's fast money, that's quick money, but he has his family that's like, you need to get out of that drug game and you need to get a legit job. So he does that, and he's like, I'm not making pennies, doing the right thing. I can barely, buy diapers and food for my kid. So we have that same thing where we're dealing with, do I do what's right and struggle, or do I do what's wrong and be out here, living the life? And so we're also following him as he loses a loved one, someone that he was really close to. I don't want to say who, might be a little spoilery, but so we're trying to follow him as he is dealing with that, unfortunately. And it's really just him being a 17-year-old having to become a man real quick. And I freaking love this. I did not think I was going to. When she first announced that she was coming out with a book that was about the father from the Hate U Give, I was like, do we really need that story? Yes, we did. This was so good. So I listened to this on audiobook, and I loved it. The guy that narrated it was freaking amazing. And it kept my attention, surprisingly. So I would definitely recommend this. Again, I gave it 5 stars, but if I had to rate all 3 books, I would definitely say On the Come Up was my favorite, and then The Hate You Give, and then this one. And you don't necessarily have to read them in order, but I feel like she references them all in some way, and you probably wouldn't catch it if you hadn't read them in the order that she wrote them. But I would highly recommend this book as well. So moving on from Angie Thomas, the next book that I have is actually one that I bought just browsing in the bookstore, and it just looked interesting, and I decided to pick it up, and it actually turned out to be really good. That is This Is My America by Kim Johnson. And this is a story of a high school student by the name of Tracy Beaumont, who has been writing to Innocent's ex, trying to get her father out of jail for the murder of this couple that he was working with. And he's actually on death row. And when the story starts, he's about 9 months out before he is supposed to be executed. So Tracy is working double time to try to get her father's case heard, trying to make sure it stays relevant, trying to make sure she can do whatever she can to grab the attention of Innocent's ex so that they can help get her father out of jail. Now, while she's trying to do all that, her older brother Jamal is actually accused of murdering a white girl from their high school that we find out he has been secretly messing with, and now he has gone on the run for her murder. So Tracy is now trying to deal with her father in jail and trying to get him out. She's also trying to deal with her brother, trying to locate him and trying to figure out what happened so that we can prevent him from getting the murder charge himself. So a lot happens in this book, and it actually took a turn from what I was thinking that this book was going to be. I knew that we were going to be trying to figure out what happened as far as the girl getting murdered, but I just didn't know it was really going to turn into like a murder mystery. It was so good. So while we're following all that, you know, we do have a little bit of social commentary, especially about, you know, Black people and the police. That's like a hot topic these days, unfortunately. And so a situation that happened in this book is her father was convicted of murder along with his best friend. And when the police were trying to bring in his best friend, he refused to let the police into his house so that they can arrest him. And the police decided that they were going to shoot inside of the house, killing him and shooting his young son in the leg. So, you know, this family, Tracy's family, already has this negative view of police, along with, you know, what's being portrayed in the media. So, you know, could be a lot of conversation around that. And I stated before that she has been trying to do things to keep her father's case relevant. So one of the things she did was have these, like, I can't remember if they're like weekly or monthly workshops. And one of her workshops included one of her workshops was a topic of what you should do if you get pulled over by the cops. You know, how you should respond, the things you should and should not say. Just stuff that's relevant to today, but stuff that I just feel like we shouldn't have to be talking about. Nobody should be afraid of the police. Nobody should have to, you know, be in a workshop trying to figure out what they should do if they get pulled over. Crazy, but it was relevant to the story and relevant to what Black people are going through now. There was also a bit of a love triangle in this story. So when her father was locked up, she ended up becoming close to this white boy by the name of Evan. They ended up growing up together, going to school together, became best friends, and you know how that goes. You slowly start to develop feelings, but then, you know, their race starts to play a part in that budding romance. His mother doesn't like Tracy, and it's very clear by her actions, and Tracy's mother actually works for Evan's mother. So it's a lot of tension between the two families. But then Tracy is starting to grow closer to Quincy, who was the young boy that got shot. So her father's best friend's son. Wow, that was a mouthful. So they started to get kind of close, and she's trying to navigate, you know, what would be better for her. Would she want to go ahead and be with someone that's black, a relationship that would be easier, or be with someone who's white, be talked about all the time, and you would basically have to explain everything to him as far as race goes because he just wouldn't understand. So we're dealing with that, and I don't want to tell you the plot twist that's at the end. I feel like I was kind of figuring it out a little bit, but it took a turn that I wasn't expecting, and I don't want to spoil that. But boy, it was that interesting. And that's another conversation topic, once you get there. But I would definitely highly recommend this. I love Tracy as a character. Someone that is that young and the things that she did, like continuously write to these people. She held these workshops. She was on the school newspaper, so she had her own column called Tracy's Corner, where she was talking about relevant topics all the time. There was a point when she was trying to help her brother where she was breaking into places, trying to figure out, what was really going on. And she's out there following suspects and being confronted by the police herself and trying to remember everything that she told other people what to do. It's funny how when you're in that situation, that stuff goes right out the window. So just following her, she's really strong, and this was a good freaking book. If you've seen this and you're hesitant on this, I would definitely pick this up. Another 5-star read. Well, that's all that I have for you guys today. Remember to click that subscribe button and like and share. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.